Thank you, Madam President. Very nice to see you up there.
Thank you, sir.
I rise tonight in opposition to the bill before us, House Bill 5505, an act concerning certain aerospace manufacturing projects. And I do so mainly because I made a promise to my constituents years ago that I intend to keep. I made a number of promises over the years, and one of them is that I would never support anything that could be described as corporate welfare. And that's what this bill is, ladies and gentlemen. I want to start by saying that my comments are no reflection on Sikorsky. It's a company I certainly support. I am also grateful that they are located in Connecticut and they employ a great many people here, and they do a very patriotic thing in the business that they are in, helping to develop technology that keeps our country safe. But the fact of the matter is, this type of policy making is something that does not belong in the legislature, in my opinion. The truth is that there is no one in this circle and there is no one in the House of Representatives who is informed well enough to be able to vote on this from a standpoint of whether or not it is a good financial arrangement. We're just not privy to that level of information, and we do not have that level of expertise. I'm a real estate agent. There's a few other real estate agents in here. There's a few attorneys, a restaurateur. There's a lot of people in here with lots of different vocations, but one thing that we don't have is a lot of corporate CEOs or people that are experts on venture capital and making deals like this one. This deal was also made largely behind closed doors by the executive branch and executives at this individual corporation. And we were not there for that negotiation. The legislature is simply needed to put a stamp of approval on it. And of course, the parties of that negotiation are happy with themselves because they came up with a deal. So they've come to us and they've sold us on the idea that this is a good deal for Connecticut and we should simply just go ahead and agree. I fully recognize that I am not prepared to make a commitment like that. I don't, even if I had all of the information that they have provided, and I will admit that I have not even read the majority of it. I saw the talking points, and I already knew where I was, which is that I am not going to support something that I believe is in direct conflict with the promise that I made to my constituents and beyond the scope of the legislature's interest. I actually think in some ways it is egregious to cast a vote on this bill without fully recognizing the extent of what you are committing to on behalf of your constituents and without their direct consent other than the fact that they elected you. And I think it's even worse for members of the minority. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on any member of this chamber, and certainly my Republican colleagues, but the fact of the matter is that we are the lowest on the list of information. We got basically nothing to tell us whether this is a good deal or not, other than the people who made the deal telling us it's a good deal. Let's just talk about corporate welfare for a second. What is corporate welfare? In this particular case, it is giving tax credits to a singular business in this state, in exchange, of course, for some benchmarks, performance benchmarks about jobs and economic growth. And that sounds okay, but let's think about it for a few seconds. First off, we have no idea whether this company would reach those benchmarks or how they've negotiated on their end of the deal, whether or not they had planned on doing this to begin with. And every tax credit that we offer to a single business in this state means that we are effectively charging every other business the difference. And I know that the businesses in my district, the mom and pop stores that are on Main Street in Southington or Wolcott, they're not going to see the same type of corporate welfare coming their way. They're not going to get the same kind of credit. In fact, they're going to pay. They're going to pay just a little bit extra to make up for this, as are every taxpayer in the state. Worse than that, Because that's not even really a bad thing. You could say, look, we put our executive branch in charge to make good decisions for the state of Connecticut. Okay. But the danger of that is that I see this as a never-ending adventure. It's just not going to go away. Once you do this once, and this is not the first or similar arrangement that we've made with this particular company, it never ends. Because now you've opened the door to let businesses in the state know that they can come to the state of Connecticut with their hand out and suggest that, well, we might leave Connecticut unless you take care of us. Or if you take care of us in a certain way, we can guarantee you something, whether we actually were intending on doing it or not. Where does it end exactly? At what point do we say we can't keep deciding who we're going to hand things out to benefit them at the expense of everybody else? And even worse than that, I see it as a recipe for corruption. Because what you're doing effectively is you're putting very powerful people, the governor of the state, the people around him, the Department of Economic Development, chief executives of corporations with a lot of money, you're putting them all in a situation to go ahead and negotiate with each other for allegedly the benefit of the state. But the sad part is that not every person is getting the benefit of having a similar negotiation. I know as a taxpayer in Connecticut, I'm not getting to negotiate. Well, gee, Mr. Governor, my tax bill was a little steep this year. I might leave Connecticut if I don't get a break on my taxes. Not everyone gets that. Just some big players do. And those big players are getting a benefit at the expense of everyone else who doesn't get an opportunity to do that. And frankly, Madam President, that's an un-American view of how government should run. We've done a lot of these deals. I've been here since 2011, so I was here for Governor Malloy's trips down corporate welfare lane. People might remember the first 5 and how those worked out. And I'm not saying that this is a similar kind of deal or that this one will end up badly. I have no idea. I think that was my first point, is that nobody in here knows whether it's a good deal or not. But that was a bad deal. The first 5 didn't work out. Really didn't work out. We gave lots and lots of taxpayer money to corporations who took that money and ran. There was Jackson Labs, the previous deal with Sikorsky. Who knows? I know there's a lot of political conversation and a lot of political pressure surrounding this vote. I know my colleagues are feeling it. Well, gee, Rob, if you don't vote for this bill, they're going to say, Rob, you're anti-jobs. You're trying to hurt Connecticut. Honestly, if there's anyone who actually believes that someone who votes no against a bill in here is anti-jobs or anti-Connecticut, they need to have their head examined. None of us in this room, regardless of our background or our party affiliation, are anti-jobs or anti-Connecticut. We might have different views and ideas about how we get to a better Connecticut, but we're all in favor of creating jobs and opportunity for our constituents and a more prosperous Connecticut in the future. If that's how you feel about me, because I'm going to vote no for corporate welfare in Connecticut, well then vote no against me, please. And think about the fact that you should be smarter than that, and you should really understand the ramifications of every policy that we vote on here, and that these things are not in a vacuum. Every little thing that we do affects every other thing that we do. And I guess that's the end of this speech, which is, why are we doing this anyway? And we're doing this because Sikorsky is obviously in a position to force us to. And why are they in that position? Forgive me for being a little tongue-tied. They're in that position because Connecticut's economic environment is lousy. The fact is that Connecticut does not have a thriving economy. We are not competitive for businesses to operate. We're just not. And every day that goes by in this chamber, we pass more and more bad anti-business legislation. I'm not suggesting that the people that are doing it because they're anti-business, But that doesn't change the fact that the legislation that passes ultimately does hurt businesses and drives them from our state. So because this state has a bad reputation nationally and is effectively bad, I mean, we end up on the bottom of every list when it comes to how attractive we are to business and industry. We have this need that we have to work extra hard to keep our businesses here. And in this case, we're going to offer some tax credits to one of those businesses to keep them here. But I think a better solution to that would be, instead of trying to play this game and keep up with the Joneses or whatever other state might be offering credits like this, why don't we work on fixing Connecticut? Let's fix Connecticut's economic policy so that this is an attractive place, and we don't have to worry about whether Sikorsky's coming or going, because they're obviously staying, because this is a great place to be. And maybe we'll have Sikorsky and Bell fighting over where they want to be in Connecticut, instead of us having to decide just how much of our constituents' tax dollars we have to take from them to bribe another company to stay here. We really don't need to do this. What we need to do is get our own house in order and make Connecticut a more attractive place for everyone to start and grow a business, to live here, to work, to retire, and so on. And that's what I'm committed to doing, Madam President, and keeping my promises. Thank you.
Thank you.